All right. What's going on, everybody? It's Jay here back again with another episode of Coffee and Cigars here on the Oro Live channel. Good to have you. How y'all doing this week? Today is March 16th. We're flying through the year already. We're almost done the first quarter. And tomorrow is St. Patrick's Day. I don't think we're doing anything for St. Patrick's. I don't really have anything like that. Some deliveries today. Just things set up because on Saturday we're having our in-studio event here at the studio. We're having George Brightman finally coming out of his hole, coming down to join us, and he's going to be bringing some cigars and some guys, and we're going to have our Irish coffee tasting or shootout. So if you have an Irish coffee recipe, bring that along with you, and let's do a tasting on Saturday. The live stream's going to kick off here on the Other Live channel at 6 p.m. on Saturday. So I'll talk a little bit more about it as we get into today's show. So, what's going on? How y'all doing? Good to have you here. Strange day. It didn't start off cold. Last night was cold. Yesterday was pretty darn cold and breezy. And suddenly today it's kind of warm. I was out just in a t-shirt today. It's kind of crazy. 65 degrees or a little bit higher, warmer. And it's like, I don't know. Very odd. Very odd. So as always, let me know what you're smoking, let me know what you're drinking, let me know where you're doing all of that. Love to know. And everything's good. Everything's good. Last week, as you know, we were in New York City, and that was a good time. Got to see, so we had the live stream on Thursday. And after that, after the live stream, I ended up going out with my friend Tony, and we went over to a place called Bar and Books, which is over in excellent. George, you coming down to join us in person, or are you going to be just tuning in? Let me know. But we went down to the Bars and Books, had a cigar, and a nice time. Nice time here in New York. It's a nice place to smoke. Mom, how you doing there? You're welcome to the show. Yeah, Mom, actually, I never made it to Merchants. It was kind of far. I was staying at Tony's place in Chelsea, and it was just as easy to walk over to Bar and Books, and Bar and Books, I don't know, is that considered meatpacking? Just south of meatpacking. And a really nice space, wood panel, kind of posh looking kind of bar, and posh kind of prices. So, excellent. Come on down, bring a chair just in case, because I don't know how many guys are doing. I don't know how much chair, but yeah, come down, love that. And the other one who wants to come in, always welcome to come in. All right, so in today's show, I've got a little bit of a tasting, a little bit different tasting. We've got this, I don't know if you guys have seen it. There's a tequila called Clase Azul. And I've been seeing it around and noticing it, and people have been talking, not really talking, but I've just been seeing it. And I was with a friend of mine. He's the owner of the Food Market restaurants, and we were hanging out one day at his restaurant. He was like, I was like, hey, man, you know anything about this? And he's like, yeah. People really love it, and and I was like, oh, okay. So and then he's like, do you want a taste? And I was like, oh, dude, it's 11 o'clock in the morning. I can't have it. I can't be day drinking when I'm working. And he said, well, take a bottle with you. I was like, what? Take a bottle with me? Yeah, man, have a bottle. So he gave me this bottle. Of the Clase Azul Tequila Reposado. This is kind of like the one that my understanding is that this is the one that's really popular. Like you see, I've started noticing them at different restaurants and places. Like I saw this one place, this restaurant, where they had quite literally like 15 of these lined up. And I don't know if they've just been drank or if they were like reserved. But yeah, there it is. Let me get the stand here. So if you come on Saturday, we'll have this available as well. So it comes in this box. So it says this tequila is masterfully aged in American whiskey casks. So it's an American oak. I guess they're former whiskey casks. And the decanters are, it says these ceramic bottles are made by hand by Mexican artisans. And I don't know if they're actually making the bottles by hand, but they're painting them by hand. And each of these bottles are unique from each other because of that fact. All right, let's open it up here. Oh, we should use our Clase Azul, very classy. And I was watching a video, and I guess there's a wrapper on it. Whoa. Oh, good Lord, it's kind of wide here. George says, I've had that happy hour poppies in Towson. It's really good. Oh, okay. I've never had this. And Youngmont has the bottle as well. And Rusty says his father-in-law just bought that bottle. Well, there it is. Gosh, I guess all the classy people have this. And now I can be classy too. I guess that's why it's called Clase Azul. Clase Azul. Clase Azul Tequila Reposado, hecho en Mexico. You know, speaking of hecho en Mexico, I was in New York City because I was attending a conference down at Industry City. And the first day on Friday, I walked by this bakery, Mexican bakery, and I picked in, and there was a pretty long line, and I was like, there's a long line. I was going to buy something, and I looked through the menu, and I noticed they have chilaquiles, which is, if you're not familiar with chilaquiles, basically they're like corn chips with salsa, some kind of meat, fried egg, and crema, and some fried beans. Delicious. Like, if you like nachos, these are like better than anything else you've had. So I walked by, and it was really busy. I decided, okay, I'm just going to go to the bagel shop. So I went to the bagel shop. But the next day, I was like, okay, on Saturday, I'm like, I'm going to stop by and have chilaquiles. I'm going to make sure I leave early, take the train down quickly, and then have chilaquiles from this place. And so as I'm standing in line, actually, there was no line. I walk in, and there's this girl, Mexican girl, and I forgot what I said, but I said something very simple in Spanish. And then she was asking me, how do you want your fried eggs cooked? And I didn't really understand. And after a moment, she realized, okay, well, you don't really understand what I'm just saying. So she said, how do you want your eggs cooked? And I was like, over sunny side out, please. And then she made this comment. She said, I thought you could speak Spanish because of the way you pronounced that. And I was like, wow, thank you. But I can't speak really very well. So I just thought about that as I was reading this Hecho en Mexico down here. Youngman says, I don't remember the taste, but it went quick. Oh, well, let's see if it will go quickly today. And Tony's in the house. What's going on, Tony? Good to see you. Good to see you. All right, so there's a little bit of wrapper here. Oh, I need to pull this camera back a little more. There we go. So I'm going to use this knife to release it. Oh, well, I could just use this to release it. All right, now here's the thing that I saw on you guys that have this bottle probably know this already, but this is something that I saw. This is something that I saw on the internet just a little while ago, that you could take your hand and maybe I have to loosen it. Okay, that didn't work. Huh? Not bad. Not bad. Not bad. Not bad. All right, let's. Tony says, if I know my special machine was going to die, I would have given it to you to take to New York, because $110 to ship both ways is a bitch. Oh, yeah, well, I probably wouldn't have time to drop that off at any particular joint unless it was in Chelsea. All right. Oh, it's a little bit of some kind of rubber stopper. And then there's, All right, we're going to take our mug here. Not our mug, but a little glass. And so there it is, Reposado. And what is Reposado? Reposado is basically aged. In order for it to be called Reposado, because you don't put it all the way down so you can. Oh, there's a very nice aromatic coming off of that. Oh, that's pretty. So Reposado means that it has to be aged in a barrel for a minimum of 2 months. Evidently, this is aged for 8 months. And it's very popular. It's $150 a bottle, which I was like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Well, that's quite good. There's a nice sweetness to it. There's really nice in depth and complexity. And George is with us. What's going on, George? Good evening, Uno crew. Sorry, I'm in and out tonight since I'm at Capital Cigar gathering sticks for Saturday. Excellent, excellent. Yes, we look forward to seeing you. And George says reposado means it's rested. Reposado. Wow, there's really beautiful complexity and depth. I was thinking it might be kind of smoky for some reason, but there's actually a really beautiful sweetness to it. Wow. It's overall pretty darn smooth. Young Ma says it went fast, so I totally understand why this would go fast. So a few months ago, after I came back from the Weasel Fest in Austin, and I was able to try the Sotol from whatever the distillery is down in Texas, and Sotol is basically tequila that's not made in tequila. I believe that's it. And this is made from Weber Blue Agave. And whatever they're doing, okay, this is really, wow, that's really good. Now, there's one guy said that that I saw online. He said that there is stuff added to it. I don't know what added to it. It just says, pure blue agave, pure blue agave. Ooh, I'm starting to lose my ability to speak. We might not have much time. So it's made in Jalisco, Mexico, and George says, "Gonna need a second pour." Forget you. You're darn right. We're gonna need a second pour, maybe like a 6 pour. And George says, "I got a Tatuai Kohonu for 2015 and sipping some David Nicholson cash string." Oh, very nice, very nice. Chip, this is the car we can try that too. We will try that as well. Bernadette, what? No worries. We understand you. All right. So what we're gonna do is, this is what I had planned. I was gonna take some of this tequila, and I was going to mix it with coffee because we're a coffee show and we should be mixing things with coffee. So let's go over to our coffee making station, and we will start there. Let me know as I switch the cameras and position. I'm also going to switch the audio source. If you can't hear what I'm saying, let me know, and I'll be watching the messages. Okay, so this is our espresso machine. I've been thinking that we're gonna take the tequila and I kind of like it. All right, so now we're going to take the tequila and we're going to mix it with a little bit of and a nice little glass here. That might put me asleep. And now we're gonna make some espresso for it. Now, the idea is to kind of do Americano style. We're just going to pull the shot of espresso on top of the tequila. Come on, baby. Come on. Oh, what's going on, Di? Good to see you, man. Good to see you. Uh-oh, we're not getting good crema. That might not have been the best espresso I've ever made. All right, there it is. Let's go back and see what we can get. All right, I think we're back, right? But the audio's not bad. All right. So that was definitely not my best shot ever. Look at that. That's just rubbish. That's rubbish. Let's have a look here. It's just black liquid. But is it black gold? It's a little bit on the warm side. Well, of course. Oh, my gosh. Oh, my God. That was... Oh, that's going to keep you awake. Oh, my goodness. Oh. Oh. I don't think that works. We're going to try this again. Let me go and dump this. Oh, mamma mia, mamma mia. That was not quite a good one. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go back. We're going to do another one there, and let me just switch some things out, and then we'll be right back with that. All right, let's try this one more time. We'll get some fresher coffee in there. And see what we can see. Oh my gosh. I think that's too much. Whatever. It's a Thursday. Oh, it's not working. That was not nice either. Look at that. That's not very nice. What's up, Brian? How you doing? We are mixing espresso with tequila, and for some reason, I'm just not pulling nice shots of espresso. I think it's part of the reason I'm kind of blind in that I can barely. I don't know how it looks on camera, but I can barely see it myself. And Young Ma says he should have closed his eyes and nose in one shot. I should. Okay, let's try it again. This one looks a little bit better. A little bit. Not great. Not great. By no means I would say that's great. It's only pretty bad. Or I don't know, maybe crema production is being like hindered by the alcohol content. Like this is we're just pouring shots on top of a tequila. It's not, we're not being very scientific about it. Okay, that's much better. That's much better. Can't believe I've that tequila. It's not the sweetness from the tequila originally is a little bit lost. But George says, I echo the thought that of Tony, I'm crying right now. Well, you know what? Sometimes you have to make executive decisions. It's not bad. Not bad. Not bad. Not bad. Smooth. Tony says, criminal shots, welcome to my world. My gosh. I think it's because that coffee I haven't changed in the last month. That's what happens when you use old stale coffee. It doesn't really produce very much crema. I probably should have swapped it out with fresh stuff today, but I never got around to it. What's going on, Steven? Good to see you. How you doing? It's just kind of like putting old oil in a car, right? Tony says he likes Young Ma's solution. Just shoot it, man up and shoot it. I hear you. Oh, but that other one, that was pretty rough, man. Pretty rough. All right, let's not get too much onto that. Let me have some water. Ooh. We may have to switch back to the tequila by itself. Brian says you have a great tequila and you're flavoring it. We won't smoke a flavored cigar. I know, but we had to find some way to make some tertiary connection to coffee, right? You know what I'm saying. You guys know what I'm saying. All right, so today's cigar is one that I picked up while I was on the road this past weekend. I ended up swinging by this place called State Line Cigars, just across the Maryland-Delaware border on the Delaware side, right down the street from Elkton. And this is a place that I found several years ago. And I walked in and I was like, oh my gosh, look at this humidor. It's kind of filled with crazy stuff. And again, had crazy stuff. Like I picked up that Freud cigar from last week at this place. And on the way home, I was like, let me stop in again and grab a couple more. So I grabbed today's cigar, the Guaimaro, the Robusto from Esteban Disla. Now, these were originally made by Esteban at Nicasueño factory in Esteli, Nicaragua. Over the last several months, actually probably since the last 8-9 months, evidently Esteban has left his partnership with Skip Martin at Nicasueño and has gone elsewhere. So I presume this is from the Nicasueño production. I imagine eventually that it will be produced elsewhere or wherever he went. I think he went to go work with his brother. Brian says that he's been to State Line. Yeah, man. It's not bad. It's got that. The guy's name who runs the program there, his name is Jay as well. And I was like, oh, hey, man, that's an easy name. So the Guaimaro is on the Robusto. It's like a slight box press to it. Smaller than the Revenge that they produce at the same factory. But it's a bit rustic on the wrapper. It's a little bit more, how would you say, a little bit rougher, as you can see. I have had the Guaimaro before, and I have enjoyed it. And I've met Esteban many, many times. Actually, one of the very first times that we met him was in 2014. We're down visiting Nicasueño, and he was like, They were kind of showing, like, you know, I guess they were just kind of like showing off because they wanted to show how you can roll a 38 ring gauge cigar. And evidently, in order to roll 38 ring gauges, which are those really thin panatellas, you have to be really advanced and really, really skilled because you have to get the right blend that you want and you have to be able to roll it. And he wanted to show us how he could roll it without using a mold. A lot of times you'll roll you'll shape the filler and wrap it with the binder, and then you'll put into a mold to you know, I guess to solidify the size, you know, and the shape. Well, the really advanced way of doing it is using a newspaper to roll it and create the right ring gauge as well as the right shape. And he was showing us how to do it that way. Of course, I'm not going to learn how to do that. That's crazy. But this is a Guaimaro, and let's have a look at let's just zoom in on this a little bit here. Maybe let's get a little bit brighter on that sucker. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so this will give us a little bit of rendition. I'd say it's about right there in the color. Let's have a sniff. Light kind of manure leather, a little bit of sweetness. Very pleasant, very engaging. Let's look at our cutting. Again, we're using the Cigar. Oh, it looks a little bit like it could be a little bit on the dry side. I have kept it with the Boveda in this bag of goodies. As you can see, there's a TAA 2022, Postani, Wonderlust. What else is in here? A fourth prime. Actually, with the exception of the Tatuaje, you'd think that this is basically a Nica Sueño sampler pack, which kind of tells you what kind of cigars I gravitate towards when it's just myself, leaving myself to myself. George says, nothing worse than Lancero rolled by a substandard roller. It's unsmokable and frustrating when rolled. Oh, yes, agreed. All right, let's have a little bit of the cold draw. Smooth, very easy drawing, very little resistance. Maybe even a little bit too loose. There's a little bit of sweetness, a little bit of bread on the notes of the cold draw. Tony says he's smoking a Oliva Siri O Churchill and a Diet Cherry Pepsi. Excellent. What else, you guys? What are the rest of you guys out there smoking? Let me know in the comments. Drop them out here. Oh, I'm running out of matches. And I think that's lit. That looks like. Tony says that Portland rolled Lancero is like smoking a stick. You know, speaking of smoking a stick, it was weird. I was trying out what is it called? The Fratello cigar, vice versa. And basically it's this long, like Churchill plus length cigar that has a Colorado wrapper, like a pretty light wrapper. And on one, it's capped on both ends. One cap has like a light Maduro, The other one has a darker Maduro, and it's supposed to be that if you cut both ends and you smoke from one end, if you put the darker Maduro, that's the stronger side. And that cigar performed in a way that I have never seen a cigar perform. So has like a slight box press, right? Just very, very slight. Now imagine like if this is horizontal and that's vertical, right? If I was smoking that cigar horizontally and I put my lips on it like that light compression, even a very, very light compression, was enough to totally close off the cigar and you couldn't draw from it at all. If you rotated it 90 degrees, that compression opened up whatever that was being compressed. This compression opened this way, and then you could draw. It was very strange. I sat there for a long time, just kind of moving and tasting and trying to see if anything. And that lasted throughout the entirety of the cigar for like an hour and a half. I was like, wow, that's really interesting. Now, the cigar itself was pretty good, not bad. But it was just, that was an interesting characteristic of that. It might just be that particular one cigar. But it would be interesting to know if it was something that happens throughout that line. George says, smoking alliance with a vodka martini. Excellent, excellent. And then Brian's having the Roma Craft something to go for the last few years. The go-to for the last few years. All right, nice. Oh, probably the Neanderthal for you, right? Makes me so mad. That's why I don't smoke more of them. When rolled properly, they're awesome. Yeah, speaking of which, so like I said, last Thursday, after the show, we rolled down to a place called Bar and Books. And they have their own inline cigar, house brand cigars, and they have other brands. And of course, you're a cigar bar, they are pricey. We're talking $21 to $26 for their house brands. And I tried one of their Panatellas, and actually their Panatella, the Twyla was great, was really good. I was really surprised how good that cigar was. And Steve says he's having the Romeo y Julieta Medallas de Oro and drinking Mexican Jamaica. Nice. I always find the Mexican Jamaica to be just a bit too acidic for me. Like I want to tone it down somehow. George says, I hate that trying to figure out how to smoke cigars so it works. I'm smoking a cigar now. It wasn't terrible, but I mean, like sometimes you really have to struggle. But it really was like if you smoked it this way, nothing happened. If you turned it, you got to draw. It was very unusual. Like a lot of times it's just stuck, right? No matter how you smoke it. This one, 90 degree twist, and it suddenly smokes well. But I didn't really understand the cigar because, if we, like, let's say it's a 7-inch cigar and you have the filler and you have the binder, you have the wrapper. Pretty much, well, the wrapper you can see is the same wrapper the entire length. You can't really see the binder and filler, but I presume that you're not going to have, if you're trying to get a mild smoke out of it, you're not going to have one half of it be mild and one half be strong, because for that mild smoker, by the time you would start on one end or whatever end it would that stronger was, it would be too much for that person. But like I said, the caps were different. Right? One end of the cigar was capped with like a darker Colorado or really light Maduro, and the other cap was capped with a really Maduro wrapper, right, like this color. And so I presume that strength differential comes because of the way your lips are touching the cap. That's my guess. I don't know. Brian says Mexican Jamaica hibiscus water. Yes. Mexican Jamaica is hibiscus. I do add, when I do add sugar, a lot of times I still find it to be still a bit too bright and acidic for me. No, I like it. I just found it to be very bright a lot of times. All right, we're starting off, and it's starting off really well. I mean, it's hitting a lot of numbers that I like. It's got similar flavor and complexity to the Revenge, which I guess would not be unsurprising because it's from the same blender and the same factory, which is why I like it, and which is why I buy them, because they're kind of nice cigars, a little bit cheaper. Like this MSRP is $7.75, and I think the Revenge is around MSRP is around that, but really, if you're typically finding it for about $10 now. And so, evidently, from what I recall, when Skip Martin and Mike Rosales had decided to build a factory and make their cigars for Roma Craft, Skip went down to Esteli to establish a factory, and somewhere along the way, he met Esteban. And his brother works for one of the bigger factories there, or runs the cigar making for one of the bigger factories. I don't really recall that detail, but they met and they decided to partner. This is back in 2010. And so they started at Esteban's house, like in his garage or something. And then they started rolling. And about 2014, they moved to the Nica Sueña factory that it is here today. And they've been operating there ever since. But like I said, I've heard that Esteban has separated his partnership from Nica Sueña and is now doing something else. I'm not sure all the details. I don't really have any details on that. That's what I've heard. But nice smoke production, really beautiful complexity. Spice, pepper, maybe hints of cinnamon and cumin. I should be evaluating the fragrance cold draw. Let's do that now. The fragrance was pretty good. Let's say medium intensity here. I would say 8.5. So very good plus. So starting off well. So like I said, I was in New York City last week for an event called Cigar. And Cigar is a big, not a big, it's actually a kind of, compared to other trade shows, it's relatively small. But it is basically the technology of motion pictures. And that includes cameras, lenses, lighting, support system for cameras and shooting. And it was really interesting to go there because they had a sizable show floor. They had Able Cine, which is a rental house that rents out a variety of cameras, including Arri and Sony Red. They had a booth, and they actually were based in the facility as well. So they had a couple of the sessions at Able Cine. And got to work around and play around with some of the cameras. These are $250,000 cameras that are used for full blown motion picture production. Things like the Sony Venice, the Sony Venice 2, and like the Sony Venices are the ones that they used in like Top Gun, where you can remove the camera head essentially, where the lens is mounted to, and you can remote the body, the recorder, to something else. So that's how they're able to mount 6 cameras in the F-18 to record the actors. And so because of that remote head system. So you got to play with those, and the lectures were interesting. George says that last summer I took a 2-week break from cigars. My brick and mortar shop was extremely disappointed, but it reset my palate. Anyone experienced this? I'm now there are weeks. Well, I don't necessarily go for 2 weeks at a time. I will take like a week off, or I don't smoke as frequently. There certainly are stints where I've been smoking daily 2 to 3 cigars a day. But lately I've been trying to, stretch that out. So 3 days between smokes, sometimes maybe a week. Or maybe just one cigar in a session rather than multiple cigars. But I do think that can help you reset when you. I think there is something that people experience called palate fatigue, and I think if you can take some time away from it, it will help to rejuvenate. Brian, I would like to taste tonight's taste maybe with Revenge, not just total, but section by section. Okay. Let's see. When was the Revenge? We did the Revenge. Here it is. Oh, almost a year ago. Wow. Okay. All right, let's see here. I wonder if I actually still have it. I hope I do. That would be quite excellent to have it still here. And yes, we do. All right, so let's do it. I don't have all pages for all cigars, mainly because the ones when I'm traveling, I don't necessarily have the sheet with me. So, and I don't really write them down later, but I have been lately taking the detailed scoring positions on my phone so that in case I want to go back, we could do that. All right, so let's have a look here. Oh, the Revenge is still ranked. This is last year's ranking. This is all last year's ranking. I guess we could do a conglomerated ranking of like all of the for both years. But right now, this is just for 2020. That was for the 15th is 2022's. All right, so here we are. The Revenge for Fragrance Cold Draw 775. For the Fragrance Cold Draw 8.5. So there it is. There is something that I would wonder. This sheet was done almost a year ago on the 31st of March. And we had just started using the sheet in January. And I wonder, could some of this be affected by, could they be lower because I was getting used to it? I don't know. That's just something that might be a potential factor to play in it. But for this fragrance and cold draw, I would describe that as very good plus, which is 8.5. That would be good plus or just below very good. The 7.75 it is. Let's see how this coffee is doing. Oh, now that it's cooled down, much more enjoyable. And that sweetness from the tequila really shines through. This could be good. I mean, what I'm saying is that this could be something to drink, but even I will admit that, this is a bit gimmicky for this, that I did just for the show. So espresso with tequila. Is there really need for it? Maybe if you're nightclubbing. How does it go with the... It's getting a little bit of a dip, right? Now, the thing about this one, it's unlike the Revenge that is kind of like a Robusto extra. This is like a more of a straight up Robusta Corona. Or maybe this is a Corona. I don't know. Let's see. Oh, this is 4 and essentially 4 5/8 or 4 3/4. So, you know what? Maybe I have Yeah. Oh, I have. Look at that. I have totally messed this one up. Oh no! Wait, 5 and 5 by 4 6, 5 inches 5 by 4 6 ring gauge. This is 4.5 to 4 3/4. So then, what is Robusto 5 by 5 2? Oh no, it must be the Robusto because there's nothing that's shorter. Corona's 5.5 by 46. I don't know. I think I'm gonna say it's Robusto. So anyway, well, let's go back to what I was saying here. Oh, hold on a second. Brian says a multi-year conglomeration wouldn't take into account quality of crop lead year over year. Oh, that's true. Even the best have an off year because they couldn't quite blend a poor harvest. Good point. Good, fair point. I'm just throwing out against the wall, thinking something might stick. Yes. Well, that's all right. That's all right too. That's how great ideas come into fruition. But anyway, like I was saying, so this one is appreciably smaller than the Revenge. But the Revenge is a little bit more forte, in the fingers, like you feel it thicker. This is definitely more Robusto in that it's, I mean, is it even Robusto? Like, I always remember Robustos in the 90s being short and stubby. Like, is this 52? I don't know. Maybe it is. Yeah, you know what? When I look at it from the bag, it looks bigger. But now that it's also smaller, it also makes me wonder, like, will it last the entire show? That's something I do kind of worry about. And you guys smoking outside today? Because it is kind of warm here in Baltimore. Or I don't know how it was warmer. It might be very cold by now. But I'm not running the heater, and I've got the exhaust fan blowing at full blast. So I don't think it's that cold outside. Tony says, I'm sure that's what she said. Yes. I'm sure it's not that cold outside. So anyway, like I was saying, the Synager was good. A lot of good sessions. I attended this one session by this guy who he was a technical director for the halftime of the Super Bowl. And so he worked with like Dr. Dre last year, Rihanna this year, and they were talking about the cameras and how they did all the timing and everything. It's really that's really fascinating. Something like 26 cameras just for Rihanna, not for the Super Bowl, just for the halftime show. And they had like 7 minutes to get everyone on, 4 minutes to get everyone off. Yeah, a little bit of bending, but it's pretty white overall, right? Look at that. That's pretty white. Brian says, I'm looking for Roma Craft replacement Robusto. We need George for a fact check. Why do you want to change from Roma? There's no reason for changing. Is there a reason? On to the pledge by Perez Castillo. That's a nice one. There's one for you. And he's outside in short to the hoodie. Oh, that's good. Brilliant. Yeah, there you are, Brian. This one. The pledge is not bad. And Brian's also got the doors and windows open in his cigar room. Oh, that's lovely. Hopefully it'll last throughout the weekend. I haven't looked at the weekend forecast, but I'm hoping it'll last. So for Saturday's show, so if you weren't here at the very beginning of this episode, I did mention that this Saturday we're having our St. Patrick's Day special here at the studio in person. So if you want to come down, you're welcome to come down. Bring a chair. We'll probably start around 6 p.m. As some of you know, we're not going to do early because we've got a luncheon to go to attend. But that afternoon into the evening, we'll have another one here at the roastery. So come down and come in. We'll be hanging out, smoking cigars. Depending on the weather, I'm thinking we'll be back. We'll do it inside the studio. I'm actually planning on setting that up for tomorrow. But that'll start around 6 p.m. The live stream will start at 6 p.m. George says, yes, it is better here than earlier this week. Yes, for sure, man. We had cold weather the last few days. I'm going to tap that down. And I'm going to say that's the first third. And so body, I wouldn't say that it's very heavy. I'm going to say it's kind of like medium low. But the quality, I'm going to say 8.5. Flavor, I'm going to say 8.5 as well. Very good plus. And for Brian, we're talking 8 and 8.25. Oh, excellent. Good. Glad to have you. And George will be here as well, so that's fantastic. Rusty Mom and Youngma, you're also welcome to come down and join us. We'd love to have you. It won't be as heavily produced as our 100th anniversary show. We won't have catering at this one, unfortunately. So if you feel like you'll be hungry, maybe bring a sandwich or something like that. But there are shops nearby, so it's not terrible. I'm seeing a little black here on the burn, which kind of says to me that maybe it's going out right there. I don't know. It felt a little bit hesitant on that last draw. Tony will be here too. Good. Yeah, nice. This is nice. I mean, so because it does, I would say that it has similar characteristics to the Revenge. I think the Revenge has more body, a little more force. But this would be a great substitute. I think it'd be a great substitute. Now, the problem with this Guaimaro is that there's not really many places in Baltimore that carry it. Like, I know that Raul doesn't have it. Humidor doesn't carry it. Davidus doesn't carry it. So there's really not many places to get this. And that's usually what happens when I go to State Line. He's got quite a diversity of offerings so that when I go there, I usually pick up quite some interesting cigars. Even this Wonderlust. I was like, ooh, Wonderlust. But my favorite of the Wonderlust is the Fiorella, which I believe is the Petit Bellicoso. And that, to me, is the pinnacle of that line. But unfortunately, he did not have any of those. Those were a bit pricey. Those were like $16. But look at that. The smoke production is good. Although I'm getting, I feel like it's kind of going out. And on that last puff, because it was probably the third or fourth puff in a row, I did feel a bit of astringency on the tongue, like it was a bit of heat that was kind of, kind of like that heat you sometimes get from pipes when you get a lot of fluid at the bottom of your pipe. A little bit of that burn. How about more tequila? I got a lot to clean tomorrow. That's a problem with it. But New York was fun. I ended up going to a place on Sunday. My nieces wanted to go out, so I took them out to dim sum for kind of brunchy, lunchy. And I told them, where do you guys want to go? And they chose this place called Namwa in Chinatown. And I had actually never been there. Normally, I go to a place called Hop Key for dim sum, which is on Mott Street around the corner. But evidently, this place, Namwa, has been there for over 103 years. So it opened in 1920. And wow, not all of the usual dim sum offerings that I'm used to, but they had quite a good diverse selection and some variances that I don't find normal. Like say, like if you're familiar with something called shumai, which are the dumplings that have the wrapper and you kind of see the meat on top. Most places that you go to will have a pork and shrimp mixed, so the main body will be pork and there'll be a little bit of shrimp on top. These guys had shrimp and pork. So it was all shrimp or all pork. And oh, nice, delicate, really beautifully done. Like their dim sum overall was really quite good. They had one called OG egg rolls. So if you imagine the egg rolls, the vegetable filled egg rolls, like you get the style that you get from the local Chinese carryouts, kind of like that, with the wonton wrapper, but now they batter it and deep fry it. Oh, that was good too. That was very good. George says he's multitasking tonight. The NCAA tournament on the TV and all over the phone. Nice. I'm glad we could be a nice compliment to the NCAA tournament. I guess we're in the March Madness phase. So the smaller ring gauge gives a little bit less pleasure of draw than, let's say, the Revenge. And now that I've been smoking it, I feel also a little bit of what I would describe as palate fatigue. Like the flavors are just kind of like compounding and blurring on the palate, right? It's not so clean. Perhaps not as satisfying as I would think a Revenge would be at this point. Could be they're going too fast, so I should slow down. Let's slow down a little bit. So I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I was able to get a new camera recently. And I finally started shooting with it because it took a while to figure it out and how to work it. And I still don't have all the functionalities figured out, but I have enough of it figured out so that I can be functional using it. And so the first video that I shot with it comes out tomorrow. It's tomorrow's video. It's a little bit of a St. Patrick's Day special. Basically, we're tasting the cold brew, the nitro cold brew from Guinness that we did on the show 2 weeks ago, and tasting that with fish and chips. Because unlike, and I probably said this the last time when we were talking about on the Dublin show, unlike what we're used to in America, the Irish don't eat corned beef and cabbage. Like as I'm looking through my Facebook feed today, everyone's like, "Oh, I'm getting my corned beef and cabbage right now." I kept laughing because it's like the Irish people have no interest in corned beef and cabbage whatsoever. All right, Brian says Humidor has almost a full line of Roma Craft, but prices are ridiculous. Average $10 a stick, even for baseline EC. I just buy 90 sticks for $500. I want to support, but yeah, you should support brick and mortar. Like, I don't really buy very much cigars online. Most of it I buy from shops, and maybe when I'm driving somewhere. I would say that a very small percentage of my cigars comes from online sources. Now, where I did do a lot more online was after the Revenge came out. It was very hard to find. Actually, when the Revenge first came out, I think it was 2000. I think I found out about it. I was first introduced to the Revenge in October of 2013 when Skip was in town for an event at Signature Cigars down in Bethesda. We were hanging out together. And I said to him, hey, man, what cigar should I buy? What box of cigars should I buy? He was like, buy this. And I was like, all right. And that was really the one that, as you guys know. And so those early years, like, you couldn't find them at all. They were like an exclusive to this one shop in Charlotte and this other place. So you had to buy them online. And then eventually more shops started carrying it over the last several years. So, and Brian says the Irish don't party on St. Patty's. That's true. That's true. They're kind of like, huh? It's kind of like Cinco de Mayo in Mexico. Like, everyone's like, oh, Cinco de Mayo. And the Mexicans are kind of like, yeah, it's the 5th of May. What's wrong with you, gringos? Like, we're here to party. We're going to Senior Frogs. All right, so I'm halfway through the cigar. And it's only 9 o'clock. So I'm a little bit worried. I'm a little bit worried that I'm going to run out of cigar before we reach our 10 p.m. magic hour. But it's smoking nicely. I think I'm going to run out of it. Yeah, so down. But like you were saying, Brian, about getting new aromas, like for me, it's interesting. Like, I kind of gravitate to a cigar for stretches of time. Like, I remember in the early 2000s, I was almost smoking nonstop, almost exclusively, the Paul Gamerian Bellicoso Maduro, which is still technically my number one choice of cigar. It's like still my favorite. And then it became the Kohonu from Tatuaje, which today is known as the Kohonu 2003 because he's had more releases of Kohonu over the years. But actually, it was Marvin, my friend in Hawaii, who first introduced me to the Kohonu when I was there in 2004 and back in Hawaii. And he was like, hey, try this cigar. It's from a new guy in California. And I was like, all right. And those were really fantastic. And then after that, I think I really was into for a few years the PBR 1975 Serie Privada Maduro, the box press. That to me had beautiful complexity and flavor. The only problem with that cigar is that it was very delicate, like much more delicate than the Paul Gamerian. In that if you were smoked, let's say this cigar before it, and then you smoked, or if you smoked a Tatuaje or Roma Craft before smoking that Serie Privada, you would have just wasted your money on the Privada because these cigars were so much more powerful that it would overshadow. It would have taken over your palate, so that the delicate flavors of that Serie Privada would just be lost on you. I learned that the hard way. And then after that, then it became the Revenge, where we still are today. George says that he doesn't buy online. Some large online stores have screwed me over, so I'm done with them. Really? What happened? Let us know. Brick and mortars make this industry. I'll support them totally. Yeah, for sure. Take the price it. And then a lot of times the price it isn't necessarily too crazy. Well, I should also note that somewhere along that way, maybe in like 2014, I was really into the Drew Estate T52 Bellicoso. Man, I really enjoyed that cigar. But then the price just became once it started going past $15, I was like, oh man, that's just too much. Unfortunately, I'm not a lawyer, so I can't quite afford those kind of cigars regularly. All right, so this is smoking still well. I'm going to say we're through the second third. Would you agree with that? Would you? Well, let's see. Where are we on our 2 5/8 inches out of 4.5, 4 3/4 cigar? Maybe a little bit longer. A little bit longer. I do like on the band. It says Guaimaro. It has this little. I don't know what that is. Do you guys know what this is? I mean, what flag symbol? Oh, come on now. What flag symbol that is? I kind of like that little detail. That's the thing. These Nica Sueño cigars, they have these little details, like on some of the backs of those. Some of the cigars from Romacraft, they have like coordinates or they have like embossing. I think those are nice little touches. What's been going on in your world? Anything interesting? Let's see what's happening here in the world of news. Evidently, in France, President Macron is going around the National Assembly to pass their pension overhaul bill. I don't know if that's probably going to cause more strikes. Anything with labor in France causes strikes. George says that he has some wrapper issues with online cigars. And the Cronenberg cigar bill. Oh yeah, that's a problem. That's really an unacceptable problem. So when you had the Beatles, did you contact the seller and what was their response? If you did, what was their response? So evidently, Joe Biden today, I think it was saying that unless TikTok divests itself of certain Chinese investors, that they're going to ban it in the United States. I don't know how that will work. I mean, I'm sure there's a way to do it because other countries like China will ban certain sites. Like, for example, I think in China, you can't use Facebook because it's completely like wiped out there unless you use a VPN. That's my understanding, or something like that. Or if you go to certain countries, porn is not allowed to be seen. Not that I know. I've just heard about that from friends. I've never tried. I don't do those kind of things. Brian says that he'll be at Athletes Serving Athletes Run Fest 4/22. If anybody wants to volunteer Friday night or Saturday morning, let me know. Oh, well, let us know what kind of volunteering you guys need, and maybe somebody will be willing to. Yes, they refused to accept responsibility. Said it was my storage of cigars. They got a piece of. Oh, good Lord. Makes you wonder how it's your storage of cigars when you just got the cigars from them. It's like, hey, wait a moment here. And it looks like Poland has decided to pledge fighter jets to the Ukraine, which I'm sure is going to anger the Russians. Oh, speaking of Russians, you must have seen that they were talking about how one of the American drones was not shot down, but basically fell out of the sky because a Russian Sukhoi 27 collided with the propeller and caused enough damage that they had to ditch the aircraft. And everyone was like, oh, it's very reckless and very unprofessional. And it's like, well, I mean, they don't like us and they're kind of pissed off that we're flying in their area, in their part of the world. So I get it. But when they were talking about how the Russian jet did 2 passes and dump fuel on it. I couldn't help but not think about what's that character that we see on people's cars, that little cartoon character that's pissing on the Chevy sign or pissing on the Ford sign. I couldn't help but to think that's what they were doing. I was like, oh gosh, that's sort of funny. Brian says he does not buy online in the summer because of Beatles. I'm presuming that's because of the Beatles. And I'm sure you heard last week's big news was that Silicon Valley Bank was shut down by the federal government, and they were thinking about bailing it out or whatever. And it's interesting. I was talking to a friend of mine that's in not in IT, but he's in internet security. He runs his own internet security companies, and he's been very successful. And he was like, "Yeah, we weren't. I'm not." He's like, "We're not surprised." And I was like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah, if you look at what they were doing, it was only a matter of time before they started to have real serious problems. Like the treasury bonds were coming out of whack." And I was like, "Oh, interesting." And Dice says, "Calvin." I don't know what that means. How you doing, man? Good to see you out there. Good to see you out there. Oh, and evidently Aaron Rodgers is now going to go play for the Jets. Though I thought I saw a blurb that he still has a contract with the Green Bay. Green Bay. Any thoughts on that for you guys? I don't really have any thoughts on it. Although his fan base must be upset. All right, so let's look at this. I think that in this the second third, I think there has been a bit of a diminishment. Like, I think the body has been relatively static, so we'll say it's 8.5. But I do think that it has come down a little bit, not tremendously, but maybe just 8.25. Well, let's compare that. So we have 8 here for the Revenge, 8.25 for the body. And as you can see here, more intensity with the body, so medium plus intensity, which we've kind of had relatively even consistently throughout. Oh, Calvin is the name of you're right. Sorry. He's the guy putting on everything. Gotcha. Sorry. I totally forget these things. Brian says another bank almost failed today. First Republic required $30 billion just to stabilize. Where did they get the $30 billion? I don't know. I wish someone would send me some. Just send me 100,000. I'll be happy. All right, another bank. Goodness, all these banks are failing. I guess if everybody's investing in treasury bonds and everything's going haywire there, that's probably going to do it. I'm going to take the band off now. Can we peel the band off? Unlike Aromagraph cigar. It's a little bit tight. Oh, still, this paper is still tight. I forget. So what do you guys show? What shows you guys been following? Anything interesting? I was watching you guys been watching the new Mandalorian? I think we're up to episode 2 or episode 3. So evidently he's, if you recall in the previous seasons, Din Djarin took off his helmet and revealed himself to a bunch of Imperial officers in one episode. And he's, taken off his helmet, at least on once or twice. And O'Brien's asking, How's the drink now that it's cooled? Let's see. There's still a bit of astringency, but that nice sweetness from the tequila, it really is shining through. I'm really, really surprised about that. Which I think is really a testament to the quality of the reposado, right? 8 months in American whiskey oak barrels really gives it a nice flavor. And Brian does like the new Mandalorian. Yeah, and so he's finally going down. So if you recall in previous episodes, by removing his helmet, he has broken the code of the Mandalorian, and he can be Mandalorian no more, according to their creed. Now, according to their creed, if he can go back to Mandalore, into the waters of the ancient mines, and bathe himself in the waters, he can be purified and return to status of the Mandalorian. And he has he's going back. That's all I'll say. I won't say more because if you haven't seen it. But it is his show, so you know it's interesting. Rusty says the new season of Top Chef just started last week. It's featuring chefs from all over the world. Oh, I'll have to check that out. I haven't watched Top Chef in such a long time. Brian says, would it be wrong to throw some ice in a drink? That would be interesting. Do I still have some ice in this cup? This thing. See if I can harvest. Oh, there's some ice in this one. Let's see. I'm going to take the drink. On the rocks now. So if you take a double shot of espresso and you put it over water, it's called an Americano. If we're taking a double shot of espresso and putting over tequila, should we call this the Mexicano or Mexicano? Oh, that does cut down the astringency. Makes it much smoother. Good call, Brian. There was part of me when I was thinking about this before the show started, I was thinking, what if I added water and then the tequila and then the shot of espresso? Would that be the better way to approach it? But I did want to see what it would be like with the intensity of the tequila rather than watering it down. Brian, Di says that Rhoda live by their own rules. That's for sure. However, unfortunately, the Mandalorian doesn't want to live by his own rules. Only Bo-Katan wants to live by her own rules. Tournament of Champions. Are we talking Jeopardy? Is that what's happening this week? Jeopardy is an interesting. Like I think about when I watch shows, I kind of think of production schedules, right? Like Jeopardy will shoot for a week. I think I read somewhere they shoot for a couple weeks and then take a few weeks off and then they come back and shoot a few more weeks. And so they do shows back to back. So I think they'll do 5 shows a day. They'll shoot 5 shows a day. So they'll do 25 a week. And that'll cover most of the month. Or that's pretty much the entire month. Or plus. Actually, that's like 5 weeks worth of shows. I don't know. Like when I was in Hawaii, my friend who's now the medical examiner on the show, we were talking and said, "Oh yeah, man, we're shooting." I did my shoot. Yeah, so they started shooting the series sometime in November, late October, early November, and so to watch that come out now, you're like, "Oh, okay, so 4 months, 3-4 months." Oh, Tournament Champion Food Network. Okay, gotcha. Oh, so the Top Chef Tournament Channel. I gotcha. Give me a high explanation of Empire versus New Republic. Well, no, the Empire was this technically in the first Star Wars. what they call 4, 5, and 6. The Empire, well, okay, let's rewind. Let's say 1, 2, and 3 were about the Old Republic, right? So there was the Old Republic, there was the Chancellor who oversaw the galaxy, and there were the senators, the Senate, that were the representatives from different planets or from around the galaxy. That's why when you see those big chambers, there's like, looks like thousands of people, because there's thousands of planets, occupied planets in the galaxy. Unlike Star Trek, that only has one quadrant of a galaxy, the Star Wars universe encompasses the entire galaxy, right? So in that first trilogy, there was unrest within the Republic. And the Chancellor, Palpatine, was secretly a Sith Lord who had somehow learned the way of the Sith, despite having the Sith been wiped out by the Jedi for generations. He was able to surreptitiously take power, declared a state of emergency because of the trade wars, and converted through paranoia and panic amongst the people, or at least amongst the Senate, into a police state that became the Empire. Right. So by the time we get to the original trilogy, Palpatine has solidified his position as the Emperor over the Empire. And if you remember in the first movie, Grand Moff Tarkin was talking about, or in the fourth movie, Grand Moff Tarkin was talking about how they were finally removing the last vestiges of the Old Republic, right? Now it was all the Empire. Now amongst the Empire, there is the rebels, right? Who we see kind of getting the seed of rebellion during the transition, or during Palpatine's rise to power. So in that interim movie, the one that has, what's her name? The one with Diego Luna, Andor, and where they all get wiped out at the very end because they're transmitting the plans to Princess Leia to the beginning of the beginning of the fourth episode. That's kind of the beginning of the rebellion, right? They're kind of like people that are like, oh, this rise of the Empire is not good. Now, and they're trying to make the universe great again, exactly. So now the rebels want to topple the Empire. So now through the second trilogy, which was the first trilogy, the rebellion is able to kill the Emperor, or so we thought. Luke Skywalker turns Darth Vader against the Emperor. He tosses the Emperor over the thing in the Death Star 2 and wipes him out, theoretically. And everyone's happy, and the rebels have now pushed the Empire, have stripped the Empire of its major power. Now, as we see in The Mandalorian, which happens after the original trilogy and before the last trilogy, you remember, if you recall, that The Mandalorian was pulled over by essentially like rebellion cops, right, and X-Wings, right? Because the rebellion now has some modicum of power in the galaxy, and they're trying to forge their own rule. By the time we get to the final trilogy, the rebellion has been kind of pushed back again by the rise of the First Order. Now, where the First Order comes from, I don't really understand this, right? We're talking 30 years, right? Presumably, the First Order were Empire loyalists that wanted to continue. And so it probably ended up with a world in a galaxy where the rebellion, or the rebels, well, they have a new name now, and that have control over a certain section of the galaxy, but the First Order has risen and taken control of the rest. And so that's essentially what happened. So was the Empire destroyed? I think that's a yes and no. Yes, the emperor was killed, removed from power. the Empire lost a lot of its territory or power throughout the galaxy, and the rebels gained some power. But the rebels, probably being idealists, once the First Order started coming back, that's when they lost their power again. There's a series, The Bad Batch, that kind of covers this time period as well, and the struggle for the rebel. I think that's what that's covering. My cigar is going out now. So Mandalorian is using the term New Republic, but in fact, by the time Star Wars 1, 2, 3 starts, it's really so Star Wars 1, 2, 3, which is the one with Natalie Portman, right? So there's the Natalie Portman series, and Darth Vader's saga, the first three, the rise of Anakin Skywalker to become Darth Vader, and then the second series, the original series, is essentially the rise of Luke Skywalker, right? And then finally, the third series is the rise of Rey, whatever, Palpatine, right? The Mandalorian happens after Luke and before Rey, or after Luke before Rey, in this timeline. So this New Republic that they're talking about is actually the Republic of the rebels, not the old Republic that Palpatine overthrew. Yeah, there we go. So I think in Mandalorian's time, it's a time of a little bit of confusion and a power vacuum. I think they don't really touch too much on that in the series, which I think is good, because I think fanboys would be very upset. Plus, what I like about Mandalorian is that these other tertiary series, Mandalorian, Andor, even the one with Jyn Erso, they don't really delve into the Skywalker sagas, right? Like, you're not really seeing them as part of it. They don't really talk about it, which is good, because I don't really. The galaxy is a big place, right? Luke in the Skywalker saga is only taking place in, basically it takes place on Tatooine, and that's about it, right? They always go back to Tatooine for some reason. It's like, so I think that's a bit better. That to me is what I like better. The little green baby hang with Mandalorian, that's the same green dude no, that's not. This is after the original Star Wars we watched as children. This is after that. So Yoda dies in Empire Strikes Back, right? He dies. He is, how does he die? How does he die? I don't recall. Was he struck down? Oh, no, he dies. He just dies of old age and disappears. This baby is a whole nother one of Yoda's species, separate. And I guess they have a high midichlorian count, so he's naturally possessed with the Force and can wield it as a Yoda. Now, the weird thing about this guy, right? In the first series, they established that this baby Yoda, Grogu is his name, is 50 years old. Now, in order for them to build the Star Killer base, the one that the First Order is using to blow up planets in the Rey series, they say it took them 30 years to build that. It took them 30 years to build. Oh, no. It took them 30 years to build the Death Star, the original one. The second Death Star, I don't know, were they already manufacturing it right away? Because it was ready by, the third movie, right? After the Return of the Jedi, and before the Rise of Skywalker, or whatever they called that sixth movie, sixth movie. Whatever they call that. There's a 30-year gap. It took them 30 years to construct a space station the size of the Death Star. In the most recent trilogy, they have basically bisected a planet and built a base that takes control. I guess it takes control of the molten, the energy core of the planet, and have encased that in a metallic base structure. Like their rate of like construction and evolution of their technology has grown at an exponential rate for them to do that in 30 years. Now, what my point with that is that Grogu is 50 years old when the series starts. He's older than the gap between the movies. What has this child, this Yoda child, has been doing nothing. Like he's totally incapable when Din Djarin meets him. He's already 50 years old. What has this kid been doing for 50 years? And what kind of species has an infant for 50 years? Who can take care of that? Like, okay, I get it. Yoda in the original series said that he has been training Jedi for 800 years. Okay, so he's at least 900 years old. Well, he has to be if it takes him, 50 plus years to get out of infancy. Like I don't get that part. That's the part that I don't get. Would a Magyu red baseball cap be red or black? Black, because it's the Empire, right? The Empire is making a better universe. So I think the cap would be black. I don't know. But back to what I was saying about this whole, obsession with Skywalker, right? One of the things that I was talking with someone recently about Star Trek that's a little bit irritating is that in all the Star Trek movies, they always want to reference the Enterprise. Like, evidently in Deep Space Nine, they had this major war with the Dominion, right? They call it the Dominion War. And they had to reference, the Enterprise is doing something. Can't make it. And so I looked up the stats on it the other day. And evidently Starfleet in this era of the 2300s has a starship fleet of anywhere between 5,000 to 10,000 ships. The Enterprise is just one. Like, why do we have to keep referencing the Enterprise when there's 10,000, potentially 10,000 ships out there? Like, in that world, you would almost never see the Enterprise. I don't know. These are things that I think about once in a while when I'm talking to different people. Part of that's because we're watching the new Picard as well. And the new Picard has actually been quite good. I don't know if you've seen that yet, but Picard, not bad. Not bad. Can't complain. This is smoking, now that I'm slowing down on it and relit, it's smoking better. The flavors are better. A little clearer. Probably because I'm not compounding the flavors on my palate with continuous puffs. Did you guys happen to see Wakanda Forever? Like, I heard people were kind of down on it, but I watched it not too long ago, and I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was like, they didn't have Chadwick Boseman at all. They made reference to him, of course, because he was the king. But I thought this movie was great on its own. Brian says that the Imperial Crest is black with a bright white background. So yes, I agree. I agree with that. Oh, come on now. I'm spilling some of this ash around me. I don't know why, but it irritates me to get ash on the desk. I do like the ice on the Mexicano. It does make it a little more enjoyable. But the thing is that the cold now, the chill on it, while it has reduced the astringency to it also has reduced the sweetness, like that sweetness that was showing through when it was still room temperature. It's pretty much like tamped down. It's a little bit disappointing in that respect. Oh, I see that. With 11 banks have swept in with a $30 billion rescue of First Republic. Whoa, that's crazy. So tomorrow's St. Patrick's Day. What are you guys planning? Anything interesting? Do you have any special plans for St. Patrick's Day? Maybe some libations or more corned beef and cabbage? As I've been thinking about like the lack of corned beef and cabbage in Ireland, I've been thinking about what do Irish people eat? Like what's Irish? And evidently, like from what I've seen, shepherd's pie, the Irish breakfast is very, ubiquitous. Fish and chips, very popular. And it kind of makes me think that, if we think about like the dominion of the British over the Irish has really affected their food as well, because pretty much when you think of fish and chips, when you think of tomatoes and beans for breakfast, and when you think of shepherd's pie, I don't think, most people would think, oh, Irish. I don't think people think that's British, English food, right? So it kind of really overshadows, or it really kind of shows that, like, wow, the dominion of the English over the Irish was very strong. And has changed pretty much their whole. Brian says, for a Saturday show, are we doing giveaways? I have stuff and I can, oh, all right. Yeah, we can. I think I have some things for giveaway. I do believe so. If you want to donate some, that'd be great. Happy to have that. I'm sure everyone will enjoy it. I've been going through my stuff recently. I've been in coffee now for 20 plus years. And in those years, I've collected quite a number of coffee kits, clutch, whatever you want to call it. Shirts, t-shirts, aprons. And I've been thinking that on the main channel, I'm going to start using those as giveaways on the main channel. I'm still trying to figure that out. But I do have some cool stuff that I think people, coffee geeky type people would enjoy. That just reminds me of that. I've also started to do a mail list and newsletter for the main channel. And I'm using, what am I using? I'm using a service that you can sign up. There's actually links on the description of all the main channel videos about how to sign up for the mail list and get a weekly newsletter. And I'm just starting it this week. And so I think it's going to encompass, what kind of thing, whatever ruminations I might have on the world of coffee and maybe the world in general, as well as updates on different videos that are coming out. Right now, we're in the middle of this 4-part series about coffee in the Naalehu town on the Big Island, where one of my really good friends, Father William, he's now a priest, a Catholic priest, is not really into coffee. So we're taking him around to different coffee shops to try different coffees to see if we can convert him into becoming a coffee drinker. So we've had 2 of those episodes have come out. I was planning to release the 3rd one on Saturday, but I just haven't had the chance to really sit down and finish the edit on it. So that'll probably come out next week. So it's getting a little bit hot now. Still good complexity. I've been puffing on a little bit harder in the last few moments, so I think that's why the heat has started to climb. A little bit of burn. O'Brien says the episode of the Priest. Oh, I'm glad you're enjoying them. Thank you. Yeah, that's been a lot of fun. Actually, it was kind of strange when I first met him. We were in college, right? So I met him, and I was thinking to myself, "Oh, God has decided to introduce me to a Christian." At the time, he was a Christian brother, a monk. God has decided to introduce me to a Christian brother, and maybe this is a sign that he wants me to come closer to him, right? To come closer to God, right? Come closer to religion. So, people that are, I guess normal people that were in situations where they have a friend who's a religious person, like a brother, would find some level of piety and have better living. Not too long later, there we are at a club where I'm holding dollars over his head. And a member of the opposite gender is claiming those dollar bills. That is it's like, oh, I'm going to burn for that one. But luckily he did not succumb to my influence. Although I believe he did tell me he left the order for a few years and then had a recall, and then went back and became a priest, went into the priesthood after that. So smoking well. Brian says that I'll be pulling the raffle ticket for the cash winner at Mission Helpers tomorrow. Oh, my sister won the first round today. Oh, awesome. Asked if she should donate. No, you're a Baptist. Oh, I guess Baptists don't donate. Is that it? While I was in New York City, I was planning. Well, I wasn't planning. I was thinking about visiting some coffee shops and shooting some more content for the channel. But at the end of the day, I was just like, I don't really feel like going to visit coffee places. So I didn't visit. I really didn't visit. I went to one coffee shop that was down the street from my friend's place, which was nice. It was nice coffee, really, really pretty coffee. But other than that, I didn't really do any kind of coffeeing. Also because, I'm at this conference all day long until 7 o'clock or at night, and the coffee shops are just closed by that point. I did have some great food. We went to a French restaurant called Pastis in the meatpacking district. We went out there Saturday night. Really nice dinner, beautiful stuff. We had we brought some girls with us, and these Ecuadorian girls, 2 sisters and a cousin, and took them out to dinner. We had a first round of moule frites, mussels with fries, as well as pâté campagne, the country-style pâté, with cornichons and mustard and a little bit of pickled onions and some baguette. We also had, with that first round, we had that. Did one more thing. Oh, steak tartare. Steak tartare was nice, but those of you guys who have been to Le Hall, the Le Hall thing was really great. But the problem with Le Hall, knowing French from Le Hall, brasserie style food from Le Hall, is that Le Hall was very rustic kind of cooking, right? Like very simple, not terribly complex, not terribly fancy, right? And so I really enjoy that. And most brasseries today are very nice. And as I was looking around, there was Balthazar, there was also Le Brasserie, and a couple other places that I had looked at the menus. And their steak frites were starting at $48 to $65. And I was like, wow, steak frites it's a lot of money for steak frites. And then one of them had bavette, which was good. But most of them had like New York strip. And I don't know about you guys, but for me, when you're talking steak frites and New York strip, that to me is like the worst kind of steak frites. Like I want French cuts that are a little more rustic, that are a little bit tougher, a little bit more, and plus more flavor, right? To me, New York strip is kind of boring. But back to steak tartare. The steak tartare was nicely done, but what I liked about the Le Hall steak tartare is that you could really load it up because they would make it in front of you, right? You could tell them, let's put more cornichons or put more Tabasco, right? And really get it to beat. But it was nice. It was nice quality meat, nicely done, nice presentation, but it just wasn't like that depth of complexity, right? Then for the main course, we had cauliflower gratin, very nice. Pommes puree, which is a beautiful, beautiful mashed potato, like super silky and like texture. I was like, this is really like some of the best mashed potatoes I've ever had. And then for the main courses, we ordered steak frites, but we ordered the entrecôte, which is kind of like a big cut of ribeye, but slightly different. The way they butcher the entrecôte is a little bit different than how we would butcher ribeye. And then, like from what I read years ago, that the way the French cut the meat, like beef, they're cutting along the musculature, right? They're cutting along where American style butchery, we cut across the muscle. So we had that. That was very good, the entrecôte. We also had the branzino. So it wasn't a whole branzino, but pan-fried branzino, fillets, 2 fillets, beautifully done. Like that was super delicious. And then we had the roasted chicken, half a roasted chicken. And they really did a great job. Like the breast was like super like moist and tender and just beautifully done. And we just shared all those dishes, which was great because there were 6 of us. And if everybody ordered their own appetizers, it would have been, if everyone ordered their own coursing, it'd be like twice as much as we spent. And then for dessert, we had profiteroles. And there was one more dessert. I can't recall. It was okay. The desserts were okay. The profiteroles were all right. I think we had some kind of bread pudding. Oh, no, we had a creme brulee. That was pretty good. And then we had some wine with that. It was a Rhone. It was a Côte de Rhone from not terribly expensive wine. Actually, when you go to restaurants, all wines are expensive. So these bottles were like $60, $65 a bottle. But it was what you normally find probably for $20 or so here at the store. But it was nice. The girls enjoyed it, so that's really the most important part of it, right? All right, this thing's going out, and I don't know if I can relight it. But we'll try. Okay, that's not working. Let's see if I can get one more out of this. Ow! All right, that's not working. All right, put that aside. Ooh, I singed my finger. All right, so let's look at our final scoring. I'm going to say it was flavor-wise, I'm going to say it's 8.25. We're still about the same with 8.5 for the body. Burn and draw the burn was good. Draw was really good. I'm going to say that's 825. Overall, good consistency. Very good consistency. I'm going to say overall, very good. So let us add up our scoring here. $8.5 plus 17 plus 16.75 plus 16.75 plus, oops. Darn it. Let's do this again. 8.5 plus 17 plus 16.75. 16.75 plus 8. 8 plus 8. 83.25. All right. 83. All right, so that's not bad. Not bad, I think. Let's have a look at our scores. 83.25. Which gives us the number 6 cigar of the year so far. Oh, I see. No need to donate. Rusty wants to know if you buy. Yes, I would definitely say I would buy it again. It's kind of like, maybe I would say that this is a Revenge Light, right? Not as robust in flavor and strength as Revenge, but we'll compare that to the Revenge from last year. But I would buy it again. So our score last year was 81.75 for the Revenge versus 83.25 for today. So fairly close, I would say, for the two cigars. Very close overall. And yeah, there it is. All right, so I guess that does it for today. Thank you very much for tuning in. We're going to be back again next week. Oh, actually, we're going to be back again Saturday on in 2 days. We're back for our St. Patrick's Day special. So if you feel like it, please come. Plan on coming down to the roastery. We'll probably start here at about 6 o'clock. The live stream is scheduled to start. So come on down. We'd love to have you. We'll be having it. Right now, we're having it in the studio. I have a little bit more of this Reposado. Man, this Clase Azul, super sweet. Like, there's a beautiful sweetness to it. Man, that's really pretty. $150. All right, I guess I can see why people love this. All right, so that's pretty much it. Oh, Rusty says beautiful. All right, so that's it. Like I said, so Saturday, 6 p.m., come down and join us, or just join us here live on the live stream. We'll be broadcasting as well, and we'll have George in the studio as well as all the other guys. I think Tony's going to come join us on the camera as well to do some tasting. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for this week. Thank you for tuning in. And then next week, we're going to be doing, what are we doing next week? I don't know. Let's have a look at, whoops. Up here, what are we doing next week? The next couple weeks, we're going to be doing that on the March 23rd. We'll do the Brazil cigar, and then the last Thursday of the month, on the 30th, we're going to be tasting the Drew Estate Freestyle Live 2022. It's a cigar that came out last year. That came with a whole gift pack, and so I'm going to be giving away that gift pack on that show. And then after that, into April, which is also, remind me, is our what do you call it? We have our cigar packs that are available from Raul at Tobacco Leaf. Just let him know it's about, I think I said it's what, 65 or 70, $70 for the pack. It's going to cover 4 weeks of cigars. We're going to have the Aganorsa Leaf La Validacion, Gran Toro Corojo, then the La Creme Bellicoso Fino Limited Edition 2022, and the La Polina 125th Anniversary Toro. And then finally on the 27th, to round out the end of April, the Caldwell Pepper Cream Soda Robusto. Now, one thing I should note is that the April 20th show is going to be the week that I'm in Portland, Oregon. Rusty's going to be there too. Rusty, I hope you're going to be joining me on the show. I'm thinking about going down to McMenamin's Theater. They've got a McMenamin's Theater in Southeast Portland that has a cigar bar, kind of open air cigar bar attached to the theater. And I've smoked there before. It's really quite nice. Hopefully it's not too cold. And we're going to do that on Thursday, starting at 5 p.m., with 5 p.m. Portland time, which is 8 p.m. Eastern time, our normal time. So that will probably be a cigar from there. We'll probably push the schedule down, bump it 1 week after that. And then so that the 27th will probably be the La Polina, and then into May will be the Caldwell Pepper Cream Soda Robusto. And that's pretty much it. So, Mom, thank you for coming in. Appreciate you always. See you tomorrow, not tomorrow, but on Saturdays. Unless you come to Baltimore tomorrow, well, you're welcome to come and we'll have a cigar or whatever. All right. So thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you, as always, spending that time with me here on our weekly hangout. So until next time, have a great one and see you then.